So, guys, I'm just coming on here to talk a little bit about the saga that has been going on with Novak Djokovic in the Australian Open. Now, for those of you that follow a little bit of the tennis world, we all know that he is not pro vaccine. Some would even say that he's anti vax, okay? So, since this pandemic has started, Australia has been one of the strictest countries in the world, okay? They have had very strict quarantine rules. It's hard to get in there to begin with. Even if you take, this COVID thing out of the equation, Australia has always had, pretty strict rules and laws when it comes to getting into their country. So this is not surprising that, when it comes to this situation, it's even more difficult for people to get into the country. So Australia, for you to get into Australia, apparently you either have to be vaccinated. I think you have to be vaccinated, period. You cannot get a visa if you're not vaccinated. Now, Djokovic has been very vocal about his opposing getting the jab. Okay? So somehow he has been able to get away. I'm saying get away because, for lack of a better word, but he's been able to navigate, this entire situation without getting the jabs. And look, that's completely up to him. Okay, I personally don't think that anybody should be obligated to get it if they don't want to get it. However, if you choose not to get the jab, then you just have to accept whatever consequences come with that, especially if you are trying to get into another country which is not, your own country. So, as you all know, the Australian Open is about to start within a few days. It's starting Monday, to be specific. And Djokovic is set to play. He's set to play against his countryman. I'm sorry, I forgot what the name is, but he's set to play on Monday. Now, as of now, he is at a risk of being put out of Australia because not only is he not vaccinated, but also we have learned that some incorrect information was filled into, the forms that one has to fill in order to get into, most countries. And in all of these forms, because I've traveled a few times, on all of these forms, they always ask you if you have traveled to other countries within the past 14 days. Now, if you do not fill in these forms correctly, or you lie or you omit information, whether it's intentional or intentional, these are grounds for your visa to be revoked, or you can get a fine, or in some cases they might even pursue you criminally. Now, in the case of Djokovic, he was already in a very tough situation because, as I said, he's not vaccinated, and Australia is very strict when it comes to that. Now, somehow he managed to get to get in initially. Well, they held him initially, and then, he went to court and he was awarded, I guess, an exemption. They say he had COVID last month, but he was also pictured with others, just a couple days after he was supposedly tested positive. Apart from that, a lot of people are doubting if he even had COVID to begin with, or if he's just playing this off because, he wants to get, some kind of immunity or what have you. So, in any case, at a certain point, he went to court. The judge sided with him, And then this gentleman in Australia, I think his name is Andrew Hawke. I think he's the head of immigration, if I'm not mistaken. He's the immigration minister, something along those lines. Now, he has the power to veto. I'm calling it a veto, but he has the power to basically undo what the judge had done, and that's exactly what he did. He revoked Djokovic's visa and denied him entry. But he's already in Australia. But he said, when your visa is revoked, you have to leave the country. So now Djokovic is in the midst of trying to get that part. He's trying to get that. He's trying to go to court and have a judge basically undo what Andrew Hawke has done. Okay. But he doesn't have a lot of time left, guys, because Andrew Hawke, he has made the decision of vetoing the judge's decision. But he did that yesterday. Okay. He did that Friday. And the Australian Open happens, it begins on Monday. So there isn't a lot of time left for Djokovic. So he's in a rush right now. And let me tell you guys this is not only about him being obnoxious, which a lot of people think that he's, obnoxious. He doesn't like to follow the rules. And there's good reason to have those opinions on him. But what also plays a part here is that he is playing for history. Because again, for those of you that follow tennis, the Australian Open is to Novak Djokovic what the French Open is to Rafa Nadal. It's almost a sure win. Of course, he can lose there because we saw Nadal lose last year in the French Open to Djokovic. But as far as him winning, the Australian Open will always be his favorite surface. It will always be the place where he has the most advantage above anybody. And he is now tied with Nadal. He's tied with Federer, 20 titles. If he gets this title and he surpasses both Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer, then I think it will make the GOAT conversation a bit more clear, because it's split. Some people like some people like Nadal, some people like Federer, some people like Djokovic. But right now they're tied as far as Grand Slam titles are concerned. And of course, I know that a lot of people, most people say, it's not just the Grand Slam titles that count. You have to look at all of the other factors that also play a big role in deciding who's the GOAT. And I agree with that. But for people who might be less involved in tennis or might not be following anything, all you see is Grand Slam titles, okay? So that is what is more decisive for most people. So I say all that to say that this is a big deal for Djokovic, okay? If there's one Grand Slam event that he does not want to miss, it's going to be the Australian Open. I feel like if this would have happened anywhere else, if it would have happened at the French Open, if it would have happened at Wimbledon, he probably wouldn't have gone as far as he's gone here. But being that this is his best surface and that this is probably his biggest chance to, cement his status as being the GOAT, quote unquote, he does not want to let it go. And that's why he's pushing this hard. Now, apart from all of this that is going on, legally and in Australia, the thing is that Djokovic, to a lot of people, regardless of his accolades, regardless of the amount of Grand Slams that he has, he will never be seen as the GOAT by many people, because a lot of people consider him to be a jerk. They consider him to be a sore loser. And these kinds of actions, being, vocally anti-vax. I mean, it's one thing to be anti-vax, but it's another thing when you openly defy the rules, you defy authority, you try to place yourself above it. And that's what's being said about him, okay? Now, as I said, I don't agree with forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. But there's a way to go about these kinds of things, and he's not doing himself any favors, being as defiant as he is. And his team, his father, they've all been out there very vocal, saying that he's been treated poorly in Australia. They said that the quarantine hotel where he was kept, that it was dirty, it was in bad condition. They said a lot of things in the press, which, honestly speaking, it does not help his image. And regardless of what you might feel about, how this is going on and if it's fair or if it's not fair, that if you are a star of that caliber and you are trying to achieve what he is trying to achieve, which is a huge feat, then this might not be the way that you want to go about it. This is not the way in which a champion would go about it. And there's a reason why Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal are loved the way that they're loved by many fans. It greatly has to do not only with their athleticism, it doesn't only has to do with what they've achieved, but it also has to do with their character. It also has to do with the way that they present themselves. And look, for all we know, behind the scenes, maybe Roger and Rafa are jerks, and Djokovic is charming. I mean, we don't know, because we don't know these people, but we can only go off of what we see when they're in public, when they're on court. That's all that we have to go. That's all that we have to go on, right? So, one really does have to pay attention to how you are portraying yourself and how you allow others to portray you. I don't think that Djokovic does a good job at that. I'm gonna be honest. I think that he gets a lot of flack for a lot of things. But on the other hand, I think these kinds of actions by him and his team do not work in his favor. Now, when it comes to him and the Australian Open, do I think that he's eventually going to come out on top? I doubt it at this point, because, look, the fact that he is not, that he's not vaccinated, that's one thing. And I think if it was just that issue, I think people would have been more sympathetic towards him. But the fact that he, lied on these forms, that he was spotted in Spain in the past 2 weeks when he said that he hadn't traveled anywhere else. He was also spotted in Belgrade, I believe. So, he lied about it. His family has been out there trying to paint the Australian government and, Australia as a whole as not being welcoming, as not treating him fairly. All of these things make me feel that, look, there's no way that anybody's going to side with him anymore. And I do think that there was a certain amount of pressure for the immigration minister, or the head of immigration, Andrew. I think there was some kind of pressure for him to make an example out of Djokovic. Like, look, you are not above the law. So all of that probably did not play out in his favor. I think Djokovic and his team, they played their cards completely wrong. And it's just a matter of time before he has to leave Australia. And some people are saying that they should even ban him for a couple of years because of how defiant he has been. Now, perhaps that would be taking it too far. I don't know. Let me know, guys, in the comments what you think. Do you think that this should end here? Do you think that he should be sent back and that's it? Do you think that he should also get a fine? Do you think that he should be banned for X amount of time? Just let me know what you think. Do you think he's going this far because he knows what's on the line here? I mean, the next Grand Slam is the French Open, and even though he won the French Open last year, I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to win Rafa Nadal every year, right? So, Rafa could be the one that's going to take title number 21 next French Open that's coming up. I mean, all of that is probably playing into their heads and why they're going this hard. So guys, just let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe and please like the video.